Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is an update for Gaza's general well-being and status over the last handful of days, which is this past weekend when there was a part of the ceasefire deal fulfilled, and it has transformed our status and well-being in Gaza. It is early in the morning of February 25. It's a Tuesday. Khalid, it's enough. Don't touch him. And you can see that here the temperature is 2 degrees Celsius. It's 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is the same temperature now in Gaza, which is a warm Mediterranean climate. And the people are not equipped to be able to manage this temperature. They are sleeping outside with blankets as their walls, and they're sleeping on the ground. And I have been warming up inside the house. The house, it's right here. These are the lights from the house. I warmed up for a long time to prepare to come out here, and I have layers of clothing on. So I remember the people of Gaza, and that there has been deadly consequences of the cold there, as there absolutely would be here if we were left out with no walls and no ability to get warm again. After 20 minutes of talking, I will go and get warm. So the temperature, it does not bother me. I'm recording outside because of the atmosphere. This is a solace. This is the countryside, and the trees are like a shelter, and they inspire you when you see them. Hello, Sarkawi. I'm going to read a series of papers that I wrote every day for the last handful of days and show what we were feeling and how it transformed. So on Friday, I said, we want the border open for all 60,000 of the mobile homes. And in my daydreams, I could just see the mobile homes coming in. And by Saturday, tomorrow, when we expect Dr. Safia, and we couldn't believe Dr. Safia will be free and we'll have him quickly. This is a dream come true. And the bus bombings in Tel Aviv last night are the height of impotence for Netanyahu's violence. If the bus incident happened with people on them in the morning at rush hour, the Israeli people would feel insecure with Netanyahu, like he could never defend them, and they would want him to step down as they already do. How dare Netanyahu tell Israel he's going to obstruct the ability for Israeli lives to get home from being a prisoner of war? Israel thought that Netanyahu's violence on humanity was okay as long as it didn't happen to them. What if there was a rush hour bombing in Tel Aviv today and Netanyahu said, no more Israeli prisoners of war were coming home, which is exactly what he's trying to do now, 5 days later. So in the last 24 hours, or 48 hours, the leader of Israel, Netanyahu, is absolutely telling the people that he is not bringing back prisoners of war, and he is lying through his teeth, lying under his breath that we are planning and caring about doing all of this while declaring war in South Syria. The Israeli people thought that they had nowhere to go because they're Israelis, but they have not yet uh, thought to start leak information, which will end Netanyahu. We are so sick of everything that comes out of the Israelis' mouth being savage violence. Every word that comes out of the Israelis' mouth is savage violence, and it is disgusting. It is so gross and just intolerable to watch them. Just savage violence and hate talk constantly. We want the hateful sound of the Israelis to stop. We want the violent rhetoric ended. How dare you violate community guidelines with your violent talk against mankind? Let's help the Jews escape Israel. Israelis are going to leak the truth in exchange for freedom. The most powerful men in the world have been standing by while Gaza is besieged of food and water, along with all other life necessities. This is a besiegement of children from food and water. In World War II, we lost all the young men in battles. There were concentration camps in Germany and Poland. The government besieged its own people. We made safeguards because of all of our human power that was put into World War II, and the lives that were lost because the government had compelled them and left them no choice and controlled them and sent them to their deaths. We needed safeguards, and we set those up in the establishment of the United Nations and the international human rights. In Germany and Poland in 1940, if you did not have three German father, grandfather, and great grandfather German blood, and if you didn't have your mother's pure German blood of mother, grandmother, and great grandmother of German blood, you're not a German. That is how they found the tens of thousands of people to put inside those concentration camps. All of the immigrant families were taken to concentration camps. When you besiege the food and water, it is nothing other than a concentration camp. What is a jail? Tonight, everyone is wounded by the thought of the Palestinians in the Israeli jails who Netanyahu has refused to release. Prime ministers are not allowed to be in power if they're disregarding the people of the country. Prime ministers are meant to be accountable to the people. Political pressure and legal pressure are the devices that the people have to safeguard that power. We needed and depended on the Arab leaders and heads of state to stop Netanyahu, the sickening monster who is terrorizing Gaza. Our geographical connection binds us to our destiny, and there is only the cities around Gaza, and there will only ever be the cities around us in Gaza. There is nothing more important in the Middle East right now than Gaza. We now know that the Arab heads of state do not see the value of justice for humanity. The color of politics will never look the same. Journalists we once admired are now ugly and gross in our eyes. And I just can't, it's so gross and sick to have to watch the news nowadays. It's all entirely garbage and gross. It's like eating vomit. And I sit in disgust until I just want to leave it from my sight. The Arab heads of state came together now because they heard the word real estate. They're the only ones with the power to free Gaza. Now the whole political game changes. You cannot be trusted to defend our cities. A city is the most remarkable construction of mankind. A city is the epitome of what mankind's hands have sown. You see the construction tower over you and know that one man is not stronger than many men working together. No one man could ever build one skyscraper or run one factory. Netanyahu is trying to from maintain immunity from political pressure. When the people of Israel hear that the prisoner of release did not happen tonight, they will fear for their remaining Israeli prisoners of war, and they will feel injustice. The Israeli people want the prisoners of war home because they don't want the same thing to happen to them. Israelis see the prisoners of war as an extension of themselves. Netanyahu's delay of the release of the Palestinian prisoners tonight on Saturday night, it was the 22nd, it's making the Israeli people feel afraid, and it's terrorized, it's broken our hearts. Left us with this incredible sense of unease. Netanyahu is making his own people's hearts ache, and he is torturing their minds with thoughts of death. Netanyahu's sensitivity to the prisoner of war release shows us that he is losing grip on power. Netanyahu lost power over the people of Israel tonight because of one kiss, and this is written after the prisoner exchange. A kiss of truth that the Israelis felt. No one could deny. No one could deny what they saw. When the prisoner of war kissed Hamas commanders on stage today, it shattered Netanyahu. The kiss of true love from an Israeli 20-year-old. Kiss after kiss, shattering Netanyahu's lies. The young Israeli was blowing kisses to all of Nuseirat today. If they let him visit the crowd, he would have kissed the hand of every soldier. Who will bomb and besiege Gaza while two soldiers of Netanyahu are sitting in the car saying, please cease fire? In 24 hours, Netanyahu will feel his own people's anger rising against him in Israel about the sick games of withholding power prisoners release under media blackout. It's abhorrent to think of anything except ceasefire. The violent talk has reached the limit. Netanyahu already lost. Today I saw 3 Israeli prisoners of war fighting for a ceasefire and not trying to hold back. One used kisses to fight for a ceasefire. 2 more prisoners of war were in the car watching and know that they too are promised freedom. They spoke up and said, ceasefire. Netanyahu knows that if 600 Palestinians got free last night, which was today, it was Saturday, the mankind would be flying high on feelings of rejuvenation. We would be healed in Gaza and in Israel. Netanyahu is spacing out the crumbling of his delusions of hatred, and soon they will be free. This year, we see a buffer zone of demolished homes surrounding Israel while the property owners are fighting to get home on all fronts. They will be trying to walk across the fields and drive the roadways back home. Netanyahu will be trying to hold off mankind from getting to their home. Netanyahu is stopping property owners from going home in the West Bank, in Rafah, in South Lebanon, in Syria. His people are saying, get out of Gaza so we can have our family members back, and because we don't want war. The drive for death in Netanyahu will cause his own self-destruction because the planet is made for life. Whatever goes against life is trying to fight mankind. Israelis are going to be immediately heartbroken to hear that Netanyahu delayed the implementation of the ceasefire deal. They will wake up and start challenging him as they always do. We have gotten a silent push from the Israeli people to help stop Netanyahu and for their own self-preservation. Nothing can erase the legacy of Saturday in Gaza, even if the staging was less extravagant. It's left Netanyahu in pieces. He thought that controlling the Israeli media was going to work. We can record a secret release party of the prisoners of war and publish them weeks after. We are unstoppable and we can hide anything. This was written after this live stream of the ceasefire on Saturday. And lastly, Netanyahu is entrenching himself in South Syria. The Syrian people have suffered as much as Gaza for the past 14 years, except for that they had not been put under such an intense starvation siege, except when they were immediately encircled in some of the historical battles in Syria. They are wounded and they can't bear much more injustice. They feel the whole world turn their back on the murder and torture of them in Syria. Gaza is a concentration camp, and West Bank is exactly like a concentration camp. There are torture dungeons all over Israel. Israelis have a doctrine of violence. Gaza was intentionally trapped inside the strip and besieged. We can prove that the Israeli Defense Force, the IDF, is a genocidal army. The soldiers are knowing participants. Any Israeli who fired one shell at a home or lived in a one home that was taken by a Palestinian, and especially any Israeli who touched any keyboard or controller button for any part of that surveillance network and drone fleet, guilty. You are complicit, even if it was for one single day. Netanyahu controlled international press with money. He got every broadcaster to choose all the wrong words to speak. They choose the wrong words for money. The viewers' hearts are not aligned with it. The last step of phase one in the ceasefire is freedom for 1/3 of the total number in the agreement. So this is 600 people that are in the Israeli torture dungeons who were promised to be released and who we are desperately and heartbroken waiting for, praying for their safety and that this time is not so painful for them. And every moment of being hungry, it hurts. And the pain makes the time go by like it was 1,000 years. And every minute of being cold hurts and it traps you there in that moment where you can't live, where you are trapped in the pain. This is a turning point. The Israeli people just saw two prisoners of war in the flesh, live streamed, and begging for a ceasefire because their life depends on it. The people of Beirut and supporters around the world demonstrated at the funeral of Nasrallah yesterday on Sunday. And there was more than 1 million people in Beirut walking together on the streets. And they were connecting with each other's energy. And it was a huge energetic connection that was made in Beirut. Netanyahu looked like a loser in the eyes of his own people, total defeat. Netanyahu has completely provoked absolutely every population surrounding Israel. Which one of his soldiers is coming to Syria to start more destruction? Syria has always disdained Israel. What soldier of Netanyahu dares to go to Netanyahu's war front when he is wanted for crimes against humanity? What soldiers are going to continue to follow orders? What if Syria begins taking prisoners of war from Netanyahu? Enlistment with Netanyahu's army is a death trap. Which of the Israelis will continue the demolition work while the whole world is piling up evidence against them? Why would you be a Netanyahu's soldier when he leaves you to die as prisoners of war? Now that the Israelis are facing the call of justice from a world audience, what they have done is nothing other than savagery. Never in history has so much evidence piled up and been documented. Israelis will never again live in Niraz, Reem, and Beri. We can say that now. And soon you will see the hope written that that they will never live anywhere around Gaza because they will be in jail. They will be cities of Gaza out in the places around where there once was this wall that for decades imprisoned the life there. In the last few days, Netanyahu has fallen apart. His power over the people of Israel, it's broken in pieces now because of this weekend. And it's only been 5 days that I wrote these papers because this weekend transformed. And we were able to see our status as being one of empowerment and with a hopeful and rich future. A few days ago, we didn't know if the borders would ever open. Israeli delusions were shattered this week, and you won't put them back together again. Not much longer can Netanyahu and Sisi hold those borders closed. And that was written February 24, Monday, yesterday, by your loving daughter, Catherine. Allahu Akbar.